Hi, everyone. I'm Libby Parker, registered dietitian, and I am so excited to introduce Briauna Pate, registered dietitian, who has joined the Not Your Average Nutritionist family, seeing clients. Hi,
Hi,
Briauna.
everybody. I'm Brianna.
All right, Briauna, can you tell us what you're doing in the practice?
Absolutely. So I am working with clients one-on-one in a virtual fashion. So I'm seeing them from my home and they're from working or seeing me from their home or wherever they may be. And it's in a telehealth fashion rather than seeing each other in person. So it's very unique in that way.
And what types of clients are you seeing?
So I am seeing mostly those who struggle with any form of disordered eating or eating disorder, or maybe who just struggle with their relationship with food. And I'm working with them to come to a healthy relationship with food and with their body.
Awesome. That's why you're here. So I know that you work with clients that I don't feel are my forte. And so I really want to highlight that. So what types of clientele do you work with?
Yeah. So, Olivia, I really see, I love all clients. I should first and foremost say that. But specifically, one of my favorites, I guess I could say, is working with the adolescent population and with working with their parents. I just really enjoy getting to form a relationship with them and walk them through the whole process of what recovery looks like. Simultaneously, though, I really enjoy working with college students, with maybe moms. I have some clients maybe who are a little bit older. I really enjoy them as well. Athletes I enjoy. So I can say that I've never come across a client that I haven't enjoyed. I enjoy working with the male population as well. So it's really not limited in who I enjoy working with.
Yeah, you've already got quite the variety of clients on your roster. So it's been cool getting to see that.
Yeah, and I love that.
Awesome. So, for those who haven't worked with you yet, tell me about your philosophy in helping people recover from eating disorders.
Absolutely. So I come from an all foods fit approach. I find myself saying that quite often, and I can unpack a little bit of what that means. So when all foods fit, there aren't any good or bad foods. There's no healthy or unhealthy foods. They're all on this level playing field. And the beautiful thing about that level playing field is that you don't feel like a food is controlling you or you're controlling a food or you can or can't have something. All foods are there. I just picture this blank, big, empty table with fruit, vegetables, cookies, cake, chips, lasagna, whatever it may be, all types of food, and you have free access to all of them at any time. So that is the end goal that I have when I'm working with my clients, that in the end, we want to get to this place of intuitive eating, right? We want to get to this place where you're listening to your body, your hunger and fullness cues, and you're not denying them. You're in tune with them. You understand what it means to be hungry and to eat something that's nourishing, that gives your body fuel, that's satisfying, that you enjoy. Um, but sometimes that takes a little bit of time to get to that place. So with each and every client, it may look a little bit different. It may be a longer journey to get to that space of intuitive eating, but that's my end goal. I have the same approach with all of my clients. So whether that may be somebody that is struggling with a really severe eating disorder, or maybe just struggling with their relationship with food, I have the same approach. So if sometimes I've had a client in a larger body come in, and as I begin working with them, I'm giving them pieces of advice that would be the same to any other client. And they look at me and they might say, "This isn't applicable to me." And I say, "Yes, it is. It's the same. It doesn't matter what your body size is." So I incorporate that health at every size approach as well. Um, yeah, so that's just a little bit of what my food philosophy looks like.
I love that. And I think it's so important what you were saying, that the philosophy fits everyone. It really is a one size fits all philosophy, and yet the methods to get there may look a little bit different, but the end goal is the same, the messaging is the same, and we're tailoring the how-tos based on the client's individual lifestyle, traits, medical conditions, things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that that is so important. And to me can be a red flag if somebody isn't doing that, isn't practicing in the same format to each of their clients. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm.
Well, why don't you tell us about your background in education? I know you came from working in a treatment center, so I'd love to hear about that.
Absolutely. So I am a Cal Poly graduate. Let's get
Woo!
into this though. I finished up my undergraduate degree there, and then I moved to Champaign, Illinois, the middle of the Midwest. Loved it, and there I completed my dietetic internship. It was a distance internship, so it was through the University of Northern Colorado, and I actually specialized in nutrition education and counseling through that internship. After I finished that up, I was privileged to work for a phenomenal company known as Ascend Consultation and Healthcare in Champaign. And they are a behavioral health clinic that specializes in the treatment of eating disorders. They have an outpatient clinic. They also have IOP, which stands for Intensive Outpatient Programming, and that runs 3 times a week, typically, sometimes up to 5 times, and it's anywhere from 9 to 12 hours a week. So I was able to work at that clinic, and I worked with clients of all ages, all backgrounds. I helped them transfer to a higher level of care if that was necessary, or maybe step down from a higher level of care. I led various nutrition groups. So some might have just been on some practical nutrition groups, maybe learning more practical skills in the kitchen, or maybe challenging their relationship with food in different ways. And so a little bit all across the board in what I did there. And now here I am working in a virtual format for Not Your Average Nutritionist. So that's a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
cool. And I know personally you've become a mom in the last year. And having become one myself, I've realized that it really changes how you approach work and your interactions with people. And I'm curious how being a mom has changed your work with clients or how it affects it.
Absolutely. I love that question. So I am a mom to a 10-month-old little guy. His name is Merrick. He's awesome and a really easy baby. But
Super cute.
it, yeah, it's changed my approach with clients in that I think I've always had a lot of empathy. But specifically now when I work with adolescents, when I work with not only adolescents, I think sometimes it doesn't really matter the age range, because a lot of times I'm still communicating with parents up until a certain age, of course. But then I have a different form of empathy, knowing, kind of putting myself in my clients' parents' shoes and thinking about what that may look or feel like for them. And so that's kind of changed that approach a little bit. Also, I think just feeding a little one changes, I don't know, a little bit of my mentality.
Mhm.
It's a big responsibility, and I know it can be kind of tricky and scary for some moms. And so I've actually had some clients that I've gotten to work with. I've had clients that were going through their pregnancy and that have asked me questions about, okay, maybe how they nourish their body, but then once their baby's here, how do we go about this as well? And teach them how to eat and nourish their bodies in a way that is intuitive and that doesn't create any form of disordered eating. So I think it's definitely changed a little bit of my approach for the better.
Yeah. I know for me, like the big thing that I think I kind of expected was coming, but didn't really know how much was with feeding my little girl. Like it was watching intuitive eating at its finest. Like you can't really understand intuitive eating unless you've watched a baby, because it is truly on demand. Like they want food when they are hungry, and when they are done, you cannot push anything else in. It will get thrown across the room.
Absolutely. It's such a beautiful thing to see. And
Yeah.
actually, that's something that I sometimes talk to my clients about is if you go back to the basics and look at little kids from infancy up until I think 3 to 4 years is what research says, they are intuitive eaters. And it's oftentimes this environment that changes that. And it's so fascinating and cool to see, and something that you just want to hold so tightly and not let them let go of, right?
Yeah.
That natural intuitive eating.
Yeah, it's so cool. Just another thing that like has really stood out to me as my girl is eating solid foods and more different foods.
Yeah.
She gets so excited about food and she like will dance with it in her hands and like, yay, like I have my crackers, like why aren't we all doing that? It's just like food can be fun. It's enjoyable.
Absolutely, Libby. I am on board with you. There's so many different purposes of food, I guess, right? It's supposed to nourish and fuel our bodies, but then we celebrate with food for a reason.
Mhm.
We have weddings and birthday parties and barbecues. It's all centered around food that's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to comfort and nourish us, both body and soul. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
So, Brianna, there are a lot of dietitians, myself included, working with eating disorders and more and more doing telehealth, which I do want to talk about in a minute as well. But why would someone want to work with you as opposed to another dietitian?
Great question, Libby.
It's your secret sauce.
There's various reasons that I guess I can say that somebody would want to work with me. Um, so one thing that comes to my mind is that the empathy that I touched on a little bit earlier, my ability to put myself in my client's shoes and to really feel for what they're going through, to understand it. I know eating disorders in and out. A lot of times my clients are like, wow, you just said what was on my mind, right? So I think that's unique. I think I have experience with a lot of different types of clients. So I don't want to say I'm not a know-it-all by any means. I'm not always going to have the right answer, but I've worked through a lot with various clients. So I think that that's really important, having that experience and having seen all sorts of eating disorders. Um, I think the fact that I work in a telehealth fashion is ideal. For a lot of people, commuting can be really tricky. Finding, okay, so maybe they don't have transportation, or maybe parking's really hard for them in the area. When you're working in a telehealth fashion, you do it from wherever's convenient for you, right? So most often that's from your home. I've had clients see me while they're in the car, maybe somewhere out and about. So the convenience is amazing. My clients still get the same service as if I were seeing them in person, right? So I'm still collaborating with their other treatment teams. If I need to have a weight maybe taken for that client, they're still going to be able to get that maybe from their doctor's office or whatever it may be. They're not receiving any different care because of the fact that I work in a telehealth fashion.
Yeah, I definitely want to pause on that because I think that's been a big misconception with people is that somehow telehealth is less than. And having, I do in-person and telehealth myself, and it's the exact same experience for the client. The only difference is, maybe that feeling of going to an office can either be terrifying for some people or very comforting for others who want a place to go. But for me, the only difference is like I don't get to give a client a hug at the end if they need it or something. But some people are touchy feely, so that's fine too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it just really boils down making sure that the client's appropriate for telehealth, right? And so we have a series of steps that we make sure that we're keeping our clients safe also, so that it's okay for them. So that is something that I evaluate too. I don't say that this fashion is great for everybody. I think for a lot of people it's phenomenal. But I'm very aware that I want what's best for my client as well. But so far, every one of my clients that has seen me in a virtual fashion is just really elated that they're able to. I'm able to work with people across the country, dependent on state laws and regulations. But I think that that's a beautiful thing. So I love that. I think one other point that a reason they may want to work with me would just be my ability to develop a relationship with them, really develop rapport, just build that relationship. I think that's really part of the foundation of creating a good client clinician relationship, that I get to know them more than just what their relationship with food looks like, because food is a part of everything that we do. And if I only knew that relationship with food, I wouldn't be seeing the whole picture. So I think that's another reason as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And my personal take on it. So obviously I hired you. I really liked what you were doing. And one of our last interviews was watching you counsel one of my clients. So I got to see firsthand how you approach working with clients. And I mean, that sold it for me. I think you have a phenomenal rapport with clients, and obviously your clinical training is on point. And then recently, we were doing a case consult on one of your clients who was a fairly tricky case. And the fact that both of us were talking with that client's therapist as well. And I could, number one, just see the care and empathy that pours out of you for your clients, because you were thinking about that, like, this isn't a job for you, this is relationships, like you said, and you are thinking about your clients when you're not with them. You are making sure that you are taking every step necessary to give them the greatest care possible.
Yeah.
And I know that that therapist really appreciated your approach with the client as well, and really valued your, contributions to talking about, like, does this person need to go to a higher level of care or not? And just the amount of communication that you're having with those providers is invaluable.
Mm. Thank you, Libby. That is one of my favorite parts, is being able to create that whole treatment team and work with other providers as well, because that's so important. And yeah, something that I'm just so happy to be able to do. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah. So, if you're watching this and you're interested in working with Brianna or myself, we would love to hear from you. You can check out what states that we can work in on the details page at notyouraveragenutritionist.com. And we'll have links below this video so you can check that out. But feel free to contact us if you're at all interested, because I know that Brianna and I would love to meet you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Libby.
Yes, thank you for being on here.